Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I am joined by Fran Garton. She is a #1 bestselling author, speaker, body positive personal trainer, pain reduction coach, and fibromyalgia warrior. She teaches people to live pain free. She also teaches them to identify their triggers and reduce stress with setting boundaries with easy to implement mindset, movement, and nutrition strategies. All of this is amazing, Fran. Thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. Happy to be here.
So let's just jump right in. As a #1 best-selling author and speaker, what inspired you to focus on body positivity and pain reduction in your career?
Okay, that's a really big question. Oh my God.
You know what? Come on, let's just start with bang.
All right. So, you know, I, oh God, it's a really long time ago. I was a teacher, English as a second language teacher. And I had lots of stress. And if you're any kind of frontline worker, you know that you don't always have charge and control over the things that you're told to implement, and you just kind of implement them and you do the best you can even if it doesn't work, and then you take on that stress. So that's
Yes.
kind of what I was doing. And what ended up happening was I started getting blurry vision and headaches and nausea, and that went on for a good 6 months.
Oh my goodness.
And then what happened was I went to work one day and I turned on the lights in my classroom and I couldn't see.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah. And so the vision came back in one eye, but was still gone in the other eye. And what ended up happening was I was in bed for 4 months with vision loss and a migraine for 4 months, all stress induced. And it's called central serous retinopathy. It's very common. But what happens is for many people, the brain corrects the vision. And so even though you lose vision in one eye, the brain just corrects it and you don't actually know that you've lost the vision. And in my case, my brain said, we're not doing that anymore and you're going to have to figure stuff out. And so once I sort of came back from that, then I spent over a year in extreme pain,
Oh my
like
goodness.
like shooting, like electricity going through my arms and legs and feet.
Yeah.
It was brutal. And I basically, like, I lived at about a 15 out of 10 in pain, like for almost a year. And finally got a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. And so
Right.
that's kind of what brought me to, I started thinking about I need to change my career. And
Mhm.
then I started playing roller derby,
I
and
love that.
best sport in the world. Everybody should do it.
I
Uh,
love that.
And I thought, and then it became, and then for some reason, I don't know why, I became the trainer of my team and thought I should learn a little bit more. So I became a certified personal trainer.
Wow.
And that was why I became certified.
Yeah.
And then I started working with people and training them. And then eventually, left teaching completely in 2019 to do
Wow.
business. But like in relation to your question, I always felt like I didn't fit into the fitness world.
Mm.
I got big boobs, I got a big booty. I'm not like a skinny little stick girl. Like I'm not a person that is gonna make you do burpees and sit-ups and like work out till you vomit. And like this is not what I'm about. What I'm
Right.
about is health, wellness, mobility, stability, balance, and connecting the mind to the muscle. And I realized, as someone who has fibromyalgia,
Yeah.
I would go to classes, and I remember going to a fitness class as a participant
Mhm.
and telling the instructor before class started, like, I have fibromyalgia, I have some arthritis, and so like I need some modifications.
Right.
I got told, and I quote, okay, you ready for this? I
I'm
got
already
told,
like I'm already like annoyed for you.
yeah, just don't do those exercises. So I'm standing
How
in
do
a
you know which ones not
class,
to do?
right? Well, but I'm there in this class, and you, as this fitness instructor who apparently has experience, I don't know, does not have the ability to modify for
Right.
somebody that has some
Fibromyalgia, yeah.
fibro or pain or what,
Doesn't even
injury, whatever.
matter. Yeah.
So to me, like, fitness should be accessible to everybody. It really
Yes.
should. And so, like, I teach fitness classes now, and I am body positive in the sense of, I wrote a chapter in a collection of stories in a book
Mhm.
about accepting the body after my diagnosis and how that sort of changed things for me.
Yeah.
And I just feel that the fitness industry as a whole, and I know people are going to hate me when I say this, and I don't care. That's fine. But the fitness industry talks about how they're inclusive and they're body positive, and they're not. They're
They're
absolutely
not.
like so as we record this, we're in the second week of January. I
Yeah.
don't know how many things, new you, new body, new year. F that, okay? Because it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Because
Unrealistic expectations.
well, but the thing is that like all of these images and all these things that we see are not accessible to everybody,
No.
and they're terrible for you. like
Yeah.
like
Burpees
they're
are terrible for you.
like all of these.
Running marathons are not good for your kidneys. Like, it's like they're not good for your knees. Like, come
Yes, yes,
on.
right? And like, so I think, the whole point is that I want people to be strong and
Yeah.
balanced and mobile and realize that their body can do more things than they think that they can.
Mhm.
And if they can't, it's okay that there's a space for them to exercise. Like when I run my classes, honestly, Rachel, like I have 20 people in my class, I show an exercise and there might be one or two people that are like, "Oh, I can do that." And then I actually, because I know my participant, I'm like, "Okay, Rachel, you're gonna do this, and
Yeah.
you're gonna do it this way." And like I just modify for everybody. And so if you actually came into the class and looked at it, you'd be like, "Are they like what is happening here?" Because everybody's doing something
I
different.
love that.
Because that's how our bodies are, they're different, and I think
Right.
that, we should be able to modify for people who can't get on the floor, they can sit on a chair, like, all these things, and so I just think that having the experience that I did, getting my
Yeah.
diagnosis, and then just really being told by somebody, like, "I can't like, just don't do it, like, just wait till the next exercise comes," like, that's ridiculous, and then all the imaging we get and all the things that we get from the fitness industry, I
Yeah.
think they talk the talk, but I don't think that they walk the walk. Like I just don't because you don't see I mean, okay, there's a few places now and a few things you see with,
Mhm.
not these like stereotypical thin like women or
Yeah.
men, but for the most part like Beachbody. Beachbody is a perfect example.
Oh my god.
The
Let's talk about
unfortunate
the
thing,
P90X program.
right? But the unfortunate thing is that Beachbody has amazing programs.
Yeah, they do. Some of
They
them
do.
are really good.
Yeah, they are, and they have amazing people that are running these, trainers that are running them, but the visual that they are trying to get people to conform to and to attain is A, maybe not possible, and
Mhm.
B, it doesn't account for any kind of modifications that you
Yeah.
need, and it's not sustainable. Like, that's the other thing, it's not sustainable. And so
I
I think that being accessible and being, you know, open for everybody to
yeah.
be able to come and exercise is important. And I don't think that there are as many people out there doing what I do as there should be.
I think that's so beautiful that you do modify and you are willing to work with your clients to say, Let's try it this way." I will give you a personal example. Like, I love the idea of doing yoga, but I am not flexible. And every time I go to yoga, I get so discouraged, and I've dropped it for years. And now I'm hearing from you, and I'm like, hey, maybe I can go try one of your classes because it sounds like you'll work with me.
Yeah, and see, like, so for example, I have hypermobility, so
Mhm.
yoga is
You're
like
like,
I'm banned from yoga because it pops everything out of joint and
right, it's too much for you.
weird, right? So the thing is, yoga is great, but again, you need to have someone who's leading you, who is able to, cue you and pay attention to you doing the class,
Yeah,
right? And,
absolutely.
and otherwise, you're going to get injured.
Yeah,
And
thank you. Yes, yes.
right, you can get injured in yoga. Like I just have a conversation with someone in my class yesterday, and she's new. She's over 65. And after class, she talked to me and she said, "I do yoga every day." And I said, "Oh, okay, great. Like that's good. If you enjoy it, then that's great." But I watched her in my class for an hour, and I am 100% certain that her ability and what she's doing in yoga is not safe. Like I'm 100%
Wow.
certain because I'm watching how she's moving
Yeah.
in my class, right? And
Wow.
like I'm thinking, I just want you to be aware of what are the muscles you should be using and what are the ones you
Right.
are using. So when I teach, that's what I say. I'm like, okay, we're going to use like the back. We're
Right.
not
Yeah.
shoulder, we're using the back. And I want you to feel it in the back, in the shoulder blade
Wow.
area. And if you don't, tell me because
Yeah.
you're doing something wrong. I don't want you to feel it in the top of the shoulders. And if you don't have someone that can guide you that way, because I'm very much about do one really well and
Hmm.
with the correct form and mindfulness, or
Right.
just like I don't care if you can do 100 of them. If they're terrible, why would you
Then what's
do
the
them?
point?
Like,
So,
and some people have a different perspective, right?
right.
Like it has to be hard and it has to hurt and it has to like I'm not interested in that at all. Like that is not no,
So
thank you. Yes.
in your coaching, you do emphasize the importance of identifying triggers and setting boundaries. How do
Yes.
you guide your clients in recognizing and managing these triggers effectively?
Yeah, so the when we do pain coaching,
Mhm.
triggers are the most important. And in my book, I talk a lot about that. And you have to identify them. So really it's about tracking. Like honestly, it's about tracking what are you eating? How is it affecting your body?
Mhm.
And if you have pain, in my experience, if you are eating foods that are inflammatory, you are increasing your pain.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, so I've talked to people about this and they're like, I have terrible pain. Okay, well, why don't we get rid of some inflammatory foods? So dairy, gluten, sugar, corn, and soy. And like those are big ones, right? They
Mhm.
really are. And people are like, oh my God, I can't eat anything. Well, that's not true. And they're like, but I don't have that kind of problem. Well, unless you've been out of pain or out of inflammation, or like if you're bloated after you eat, like these are little things. Like, are you bloated after you eat? You
Yeah.
probably are eating things that are inflaming the gut. Like that, like you shouldn't be like that. How's your
Right.
poop? Look at your poop. How's that? I had a client once that told me I poo every 3 days. What now? That's how I am.
I'd
I've
be
been
dead on the ground.
years old. And she's like, I've been like that since I was like, I don't know, 12. And no medical professional ever mentioned this to you. Like, you should eat and poop. Like, that's how it works. She's like, well, that's normal. It's not normal. So when I want people to start paying attention, how does the food affect them?
Yeah.
Like what kind, like, are you drinking water and then going to the bathroom right away? You are not absorbing your water. It's just going through you.
Yeah,
Like, so little
exactly.
things like that. So when I work with my clients, we start to actually pay attention to things like
Mhm.
that. Track your food and see, like, how much sugar are you eating? How does your body feel? If you have arthritis and you eat sugar, you're going to get inflammation. Like, you're going to feel that,
Yeah.
right? So looking at little things, what are your boundaries with the people in your life?
Yeah.
Kind of go through all the pieces of life. Are you a yes person? Are you a people pleaser? Like,
Yeah.
and I work with parents and predominantly women, and they're like, yeah, but my kids won't eat that. Oh, well, if you're this is my philosophy. And I know some people think it's really hard line and strict, but if you're the person that's cooking all the food and they don't want to eat it,
Okay.
like like you teach people what is acceptable. So
Very good point.
if your family says, well, we're not going to eat that, and then you make 3 different meals, then they expect that you're going to make 3 different
3
meals.
different meals.
So
Absolutely.
absolutely, when you say this is what we're having for dinner,
Yeah.
and I don't want that, and you go, okay, I'll make you something else. Like, I mean,
You're
that's a
saying, "Okay."
right, because you're the one that set it up. So we really treat people how to teach us and what's acceptable.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting in a place where you're like, oh my God, like I'm making all these meals, or I don't have these boundaries and people don't honor my boundaries. Well, do people not honor your boundaries because they're just mean? Or do people not honor your boundaries because you actually don't reinforce them?
Right, you're enabling them to get what they want.
Absolutely. And it sounds very, I know people at the beginning when I do podcasts and we talk about this, people are like, oh my goodness. Well, like, or like texting. Like, I have to someone talks about stress. Stress is really big. I talk a lot about
Mhm.
maintaining and managing stress. And like, when someone asks me, well, what about when people text me all the time? Okay, what about when people text you? Well, I have to answer. Well, no, you
No, you
don't.
don't.
No, you don't.
It's
I've
your boundaries, and you're
I've worked with
choosing to allow this in.
Right. Or I have to answer an email right away. Okay, I'm an old lady. Okay, so I grew up before the internet. Like, there was no there were no cell phones.
Right?
You waited to call someone on the landline, and if they answered, great.
Great.
And if they didn't, you left a message if they had an answering machine, or you called back. And
Right.
that's just how things worked. You got stuff in the mail, like in the post office delivered it to you.
Yeah.
Like, so it's a very different way of thinking about things. And now we're just in this instant culture where we always have to give, 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 give.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. It's
It is.
absolutely exhausting. And it's not maintainable.
Mm,
Get to this point where you're like, I have all this pain. Okay, so let's look at your boundaries and what are you doing in your life
absolutely.
to step back from.
I love that. So you have a no BS coaching style and it
Yep.
incorporates mindset, movement, and nutrition strategies. Can you maybe give us an example of how these elements work together to create a pain-free lifestyle?
Okay. So when I talk about no BS, like if you say to me, I say, Rachel, your homework is I want you to track your food and let's see how much sugar you're having each day.
Yeah.
Just count the milligrams or the grams of sugar. And then we have our coaching call and you say, I go, okay, so how was it? She goes, well, I didn't do it. So my response is, why not? And you're like, well, okay, so what's the real reason that you didn't do it? Well,
Yeah.
my kids, no, 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 no. What's the real reason that you didn't do it? So I will call you out on stuff. Like I'm not gonna, like, there is no excuse. If you have committed to doing it, just like I've committed to show up and help you,
Right.
then you're reciprocating by doing your homework. And
Yeah.
you are responsible for telling me how many grams of sugar did you eat every day? Well, I
Yeah.
just didn't do it or I was too tired. No, unacceptable. These are unacceptable things.
I
And so
love this.
it's like and not everybody responds to that, and that's
Right.
totally fine. But I think sometimes we actually need somebody to give us a kick in the pants. Like
We
we do,
do. You're right.
right?
100%. Some people need to be held accountable and need to know that if you don't show up, you're going to be called on it.
Right. And like, so that's sort of, let's say that's a nutrition piece. And when I talked about earlier about what are the inflammatory,
Right.
okay, we got to get rid of them.
Right.
Well, I can't. Well, sure you can. I've been gluten free for 30. Oh, I'm dating myself here. 30 30 years. I've been gluten.
Oh,
So, and I was gluten free before there was nothing to replace it with. Like it was just,
yeah.
there wasn't anything. So you can do it. But my question then would be, why don't you want to? Like, what is the reason that you're protesting me saying, let's try gluten free?
I like that question.
Like, because there's a reason, right? There's always, and the reasons that we don't do things often boil down to very simple things: fear, lack of love,
Yeah.
like no self-esteem. Like those are the
Yeah.
things that it really boils down to, right? And then the movement piece, my philosophy is just move.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what it is, just move. If you like dancing, put on your favorite song and dance. I did a workshop last week and it was called Exercise for People Who Hate Exercise. That
I
was the,
love that.
and all the people that showed up were like, we really hate exercise. And I'm like, great. So we did cardio. Do you know what cardio was? We put our hands above our head and we walked around the room.
I
That is
love
cardio.
that.
That's cardio because
Yeah.
the heart has to work
I
to
love
pump that
that.
blood, to hold those arms up, right? I'm like, put on your favorite song. Like I had music playing and a song came on that one of the women liked, and she just started dancing. I'm like, there you go. That's
There you
exercise. Do
go.
that. So find something you enjoy
Yeah.
and incorporate that. So, you have to really think about what are you doing or not doing and what
Yeah.
is the reason? Like what's the real reason underlying it? Because
Yeah.
it's not about I don't have money for that or I don't, my
I
family
don't
doesn't
want to.
or I don't want, like that's not what it is. There is a
Yeah.
reason that you are not doing something or you're doing something you shouldn't be that's affecting your body. And my feeling is, for people who are living in pain,
Hmm.
if you are always in pain, you don't actually know what it's like to be out of pain.
Right.
And so now that I live, like I don't have pain. Like I don't take anything.
I love that.
Like once in a while, yeah, sure, I'll take an ibuprofen or something.
Hmm.
Generally, there's no pain.
Right.
And when you finally get to the state where you're not in pain, you don't want to go back,
No.
but you don't know the difference. Just
True.
like have digestive issues. You're like, okay, that person, I only poop every 3 days. Yeah, but wouldn't it be amazing if you went every day?
Yeah. Not feeling
Right.
backed
But
up.
to get there has to be changes. And people, for some reason, which I don't know, maybe I'll do a PhD on this or something. I am astounded
Mhm.
by how much we hate change
Yes.
because our whole entire life is change.
Yeah. And
Like,
people get used
every
to being uncomfortable.
yeah, like, you know what I mean? And the thing is though, it's all about like, and that's the where the mindset piece comes in. It really is about your perspective. So
Mm.
instead of, when you're exercising, instead of going, "Oh, I can't do that." Like, I showed my participants this morning an exercise, and I demoed it, and I said, before I even showed them, I said, "Before I show you, what's going to happen is you're gonna look at me and you're gonna go, 'I can't do that.'" And so what I would like you to do is go, let's see if I can. I want
Right.
you to switch your perspective because changing your mindset and
Mhm.
changing how you view something changes your ability. I mean, I work with seniors. I have a woman in my class who's 84 years old. And every time I give her something, she's an amazing, tiny little Jamaican woman. She's hilarious. Thick Jamaican accent. And every time I show her something in her thick Jamaican accent, she goes, "Well, let's see what happens when I try this."
I
Every
love
exercise.
it.
So, switch your perspective because that might
Absolutely.
actually make things more accessible to you.
I love that. So, in your book, Healing the Hurt, a step-by-step guide to alleviate and minimize pain, what is one core lesson you would hope that readers take away from it?
You have the power to change things, and it is completely your decision. So, if you do or you don't, totally fine with me, but it
Yeah,
really is up to you.
I
And it
love
can be
that.
done. It can be done.
I love that. So, before we ask you the last question, if anyone is interested in it, and it sounds like you do in-person workshops. I mean, you have books, you have a lot of social media. She also has a free pain quiz. What is the best place for someone to get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, well, they can find me on Instagram if they're on Instagram. It's Fran Garton Pain Coach,
I love that.
but I also have a website. So frangartoncoaching.com is the website. So those are kind of two places to find out the most about me and to connect with me. You can message me through both of those.
I actually have 2 more questions.
Okay, go ahead.
So, you have a diverse range of interests from volunteering with donkeys to watercolor painting. How do these activities complement your professional work and personal well-being?
Oh, they allow me to just focus on me. They allow me to keep my mind calm. They allow me to have enjoyable time where I'm not worrying about other people or doing things for other people because when you're in service with for others,
Mhm.
as you know, it drains you in
Yeah,
many capacities and many ways. And so, yeah, these hobbies and these interests that I have just let me just take a break and give back to myself.
I love that. So, Fran, for someone that is listening who might be struggling with chronic pain or body image issues, what is one piece of advice you would offer to help them to start their journey towards healing and acceptance?
That's a good question. I would say think about this question. If everything in your life remain as it is today, remains as it is today, is that acceptable for you? If the answer is yes, I bless you and let you go. If the answer is no, then you need to decide what is the first step that you want to take. And truly deciding that you want to make a change is the first step. And then from there, reach out. I'm happy to help, and there are lots of people out there that can help.
That is a beautiful piece of advice. It really is. I want to thank you so, so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. It honestly was amazing to talk to you today.
Thank you so much for having me.